Harrison Joe Mason was a baseball player on the Penn State baseball team. It wasn't called the Nittany Lion team at that time, obviously. They had a game coming up with Princeton, and there was an anonymous letter sent to the newspaper, Penn State, wanting to call the mascot the Nittany Lion, simply because Princeton was the tiger, and the Tigers were ferocious and they were good on the baseball field. Well, Joe said, no one's ever beaten a Nittany Lion. And it come to pass that Penn State won the baseball game that day, and everybody liked the name Nittany Lion, so it stuck. And later they found out that he had written an anonymous letter to the newspaper to himself, since he was the editor of the newspaper.
The story behind the Coven monument goes back to Carroll Junior High, when an English teacher gave a writing assignment at Halloween to write a ghost story. Thinking that would motivate children to use their imagination. One student was fascinated by this stone and by the name. A coven is what? A group of witches, a congregation of witches, and what appears to be a broom. And of course, brooms are associated with witches. So she wrote a story that this was a final resting place for a coven of witches. She went on to describe that in order to raise their spirits, you must come here, blow your horn 3 times, and their spirits would appear. Believe it or not, around Halloween of each year, Mark will hear a horn toot from inside of the office, and thinking that maybe someone has had a flat tire or whatever, will walk out to find not children tooting their horns, but adults. And then on the night of the 3rd, there was the horrific thunderstorm in which Lee would use as cover for his retreat to the Potomac, to cross the Potomac River. Upon discovering that Lee was in retreat, Meade ordered the cavalry, in this case the 1st West Virginia Cavalry, to harass his wagon trains, thinking that it would be nothing more than supplies and injured Confederate soldiers. While patrolling a narrow pass leading southward, it's called Monterey Gap or Monterey Pass, just south of Gettysburg, Henry Clark led his men into what he thought would be a unarmed wagon train, only to once again meet Longstreet's infantry. Henry was wounded on the morning of July the 4th. He was taken back to Gettysburg, and he passed away on July the 6th. His body would remain at the train station in a lead casket, and it would take a year for his mother to have his body returned to Monongahela, where he is buried here with great honor. He died when he was 20 years old. He never got the gold pocket watch. As of today, we've buried 35,909 remains. And The cemetery is 173 acres, of which we only have burials on 80 of those acres. So there's still much room for expansion.